What is up, everyone? Good afternoon. It's Cade, and I'm back for a new, cool, fun tutorial. Today we're doing something a little simple, and it's mostly intended to do something that I've been meaning to do for a while. I want to start helping people with Blender. I feel very comfortable with Blender, and it's my first love. My second love is games and game design, but my first love has always been using Blender. So with that said, we're going to dive right in. Um, this is a bit of a beginner tutorial, so you can either follow along and learn with me, um, or if you want more advanced help, I'm more than happy to help. All you have to do is join my Discord. I'll leave the link below for that. And we can make tutorials for more advanced stuff when we get to that point. But for now, we're starting off with simple stuff. A lot of people are scared of Blender, and as big and daunting as that may seem, you don't have to be. So we're diving right into the basics. So if you don't have Blender installed, all you have to do is open up your web browser and go to blender.org. And when you're on the page right here, there's a download Blender button. Just click that and then click the download Blender. 3.4.1 is the current version for this video. You can use a later version if you find this video after, and the tutorial should be essentially the same. What it'll do is you'll download the installer, and then you'll open that up. Should only take a few seconds. You only have to do this if you do not have Blender installed. And when that's finished installing, just click Open File, or you can browse to downloads. It'll open up the installer, and then you'll click Next, Next, Install, and then open up Blender after that. I'm not going to install it because I've already got it installed. So I'm just going to cancel it out. I'm going to delete that. So if you have Steam or you're a heavy gamer on the other hand, you can go to steampower.com and just install the Steam installer, and then after that open it up and log in and go search for Blender. It is also in here as well. Just click the screen button right here and it'll add it to your library, and then right here you can open up Blender just like that. How simple is that, guys? So we are going to reverse engineer everything. Right here, I'm going to go to defaults, load factory settings. Yes, I said load factory settings. Something that not many people do. Because I want you to get comfortable with the basics and follow along with me. The only thing I am going to actually turn on is I'm going to go to preferences, and I'm going to go to add-ons. I'm going to enable one add-on for you guys. And this is so that you can see what keys I'm pressing. And right there, save my preferences. You don't worry about this. You don't need to see that at all. This is just so you can see what I'm doing. This green, so you can see it right here. Shadow behind it. I'm gonna make this 40, nice and big. That seems about right. There you go. So now you can see what buttons I'm pushing. And I'm gonna hide that. So when you open up Blender, there's this big scary cube. A lot of people don't like this, and you don't have to be scared of it at all. I don't know why I just pressed the caps lock, but I did. Anyways, I am just as human as the rest of you. So let's just grab these. All you have to do is left click, drag, just press M. We're gonna make a new collection. I'm gonna call mine Lights Cam. and move that there. This is just something I do out of habit. And then it'll make a new group over there, and then just hide that. That way it's hidden from view. We don't have to worry about accidentally clicking on that. So if you left click on the cube, you can select it. That's what the orange little outline is. If you press G, you can drag it around. Press the middle mouse button, you can rotate around and stuff like that. I am using a number pad, and that's actually for the view. So I can see easier because I'm using an MMO mouse, which I would highly suggest if you don't have a number pad. That just makes everything a lot easier. If you don't want to worry about that, you can always go to View and then Viewport, and then they're right here. And if you look at the hotkeys for them, it's exactly the same thing as I was pressing. You can move the cube, or move it like scroll around your screen by holding down Shift and middle mouse button. And left click, select stuff, and you can also press A to select it. You also notice it highlights over there. That is pretty much it. I'm not going to go into anything super advanced because, again, this is just a very, very basic tutorial just to help you get more acquainted with Blender with me. If I learn something new, I want you guys to learn with me. That's the end goal here. And over time, we are going to start using Blender and Unreal Engine to make some awesome games. So this is the starting point for that. So what I want to do is I want you guys to go into your browser, go to Pixabay, and you're going to search for wooden box. And should have a bunch of boxes. If you scroll down just a little ways, there should be a texture right here. I want this one. Just go ahead and pre-download and then select the highest, which would be 1920 by 1920, and then click download. It's going to download the file into your downloads. And if you like it, go ahead and click that heart to thank the person, or you can donate to them if you want. All right, so we're good there. And now let's hop back into Blender. What we're going to do here is we're going to middle mouse scroll up and zoom right in on that box. Normally, I would have you guys switch over to shading so that we can get these. But in my case, you can't see what I'm pressing over here. Let me see if I can actually turn it. Yeah, you can't. Because it's showing a rendered view. Yeah, so that's not going to work. So here, I'm just going to use the layout. And I'm going to split my view. What I'm doing right here is I'm just right clicking over the edge, and I'm going to do a horizontal split like that. And for me, I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do a vertical split right in the middle. You don't have to do this, but it's just here for demonstration purposes, just so you can see everything. So I'm switching this view to the UV editor right here. And I'm switching the right panel over here to shader editor. And these are what we're going to use here. So right here, I'm going to press tab, go into edit mode. If you get stuck or confused, always pay attention to this thing right here. This is texture, sculpt, edit, and object. And in edit mode is where you can grab stuff and move it around. So if I grab like this vertex right here and I press G, I could drag that around. If I press 1, 2, or 3 on my keyboard, this lines up with these right here. This is vertex. This is an edge, and this is a face. So this is a vertex right here in the corner. This is an edge. So if I press that and I press G again, now I'm grabbing the edge. I press 3, it's going to the face right here. And now if I click there, it's grabbing the face. Now I can drag that around. If you press E, you can extrude, and then S to scale. But I'm not going to do any of that, so I'm just going to undo that. Just going to check to make sure that didn't accidentally stick. So we're good there. And we aren't going to really do anything with the model. We're just going to use a plain box. Yes, that plain scary box that everybody's afraid of. And we're just going to tab back into object mode. So now what I want to do is press Z. And we're going to go to material preview. And now it's going to turn white. If that happens, what we want to do is click on the material property on the right panel. And just make sure there's a material on there. Because sometimes if it's a little off, there might not be a material on there. I think it's a bug in Blender that's happened sometimes because I've had that happen before where it looks like it's white and there's no material there. Worse, I accidentally deleted it. But anyways, so that's that. You can actually drag this up more if you want. This is actually right here in your workspace. Here's the UV editing. This is the same thing if you want a bigger panel. And then over here is the shader. But for just so you guys can see what I'm pressing, I just thought this would be a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into wherever you downloaded the wooden box file in your downloads, just go ahead and click on it and drag and drop that right into the shader editor. And should drop like that. There we go. And that's actually how easy it is to add a texture file into Blender. You can even do the same thing up here with images. Yeah, as like if you want like a background image, you just drag and drop it in there versus trying to go through some hassle workflow to do that. It's really simple. So if I press Control A over here and I search for texture, image, and if you select image texture, this is the same thing right here. So if I were to open that, I could navigate and select that. That's another way you can do that, but I think drag and drop is a lot easier. So what we're going to do right now is if you click on this, you should see the crate texture. And we're just going to drag on the node and put that right in the base color. And you should have something that looks like this now. That looks a little weird, right? It shouldn't look like that. Well, yeah, you're right. So how do we fix that? What we want to do now is that tab key, you want to tab into edit mode. Make sure you are in edit mode. And we're going to press A so that we are selecting everything. And if you've done this right, you should now see a default UV map for the default cube. It'll look like a little cross, and that's normal. A lot of the basic shapes in here have a pre-generated UV map, and this is why that is happening. But we are only using one-sided texture. So what we want to do is press A to select this. Make sure your mouse is hovering over it in the UV editor, and press U and unwrap. It's going to be the same thing. You actually don't have to do that though. What you want is to go to UV, and then where is it? Right here. Press reset. And what that's going to do is it's going to reset all those squares, and it's going to fit that right all stacked on top of each other on top of that box. So now we have a perfect looking crate with that just one texture. If you press tab, you can actually see it right here. Isn't that cool? So you're saying Cade, but I want screws on this. I don't like the color. Well, we have a simple solution for that as well. Let's just drag this over. And if you drag that over, and over in the shader editor, we're going to press Shift A and search again. This time we want a color ramp. I want this one right here. Just drag and drop that right in there. Well, crap, now it's gray. If you can actually drag this up and select this first little node, and whatever these are called, I don't know. Basically, these are controlling how the color works on here. So if I select this black one, for instance, and I click on the black color, now I got a black color right here. If I click the eyedropper, now I got an eyedropper, and I can actually just pick that color again. So you can actually just drag these and make it a different color. So for me, I think I'm just going to do the same thing over here. Now make sure you select this one, and you want to pay attention to this color right. I just clicked off of it by accident. I'm going to pick a darker color. And if you screw up, that's okay. Just Control Z and undo it. If you reverse them, you can actually play around with the colors a little bit more until you get something that looks however you want it. And if you're still not liking it, you can always add another one. Just kind of drag that over more. Drag that over more. And I think this one will make it a little white. Isn't that awesome? We're learning to play with textures and color in Blender already. And we pretty much have the same thing already. How cool is that? Congratulations on making your first box and changing the color. So because we did this and that, all you have to do is export it if you're good with there. Alright, now that our box is looking pretty cool, let's just go a little extra on it and see how else we can make it look a little nicer. And to do that, we're going to add some screws. So let's switch over from object mode to texture paint. Which now I have a screen that looks like this for texture painting. And if you press the N key, it will bring up this. You might be in here under view or item. Item's the default. So just make sure you're on tool. Alternatively, you can click on the texture paint here. But again, I'm just staying here just so you can see my mouse. And I went back to object mode, so if that happens, all you have to do is switch back to texture paint. And what we want to do is we want to scroll down and look for texture. It's probably going to look like that at first. Just look for this one right here. And open that drop down. And you should have a little checker panel right here. Click New. And switch from Tile to Stencil. And if I remember correctly, yeah. Now, once you're set up there, we want to go over here on the right panel, the lower materials. Click on this texture property right here. It's going to have a black screen. So I'm going to give you this screw texture that should go nicely with their box. Or you can make your own if you want. Let's just go ahead and under image settings, open. And I think it's over here, simple create and basic screw design. So go ahead and open up that image and it should look like that. Alright, so now that we've added our screw texture right there and that's all looking good, we take our mouse and we hover it back over where our create and texture painting were. You should notice the screw is now a stencil on your screen. And that's normal. So if To move this around, all you have to do is right click and drag it around, just like that. If you want to make it smaller or bigger to scale the size of it, just right click and you can drag that in and out to make that bigger. You want to rotate, it's control and then right mouse, and that can rotate it. Just gonna put it right about out there. So I'm just gonna zoom in on my box here, and for me, I'm just gonna do it on one side because we're already using this texture. So if we go like this and drag that up there, I'm going to put mine right there. If you want to add more, you can. And then all we have to do is just left click to draw. It drew a screw right there. What you want to pay more closely attention to is this right here. So if you want to change the color, all you have to do is go back up here to the color picker and just change the color right here. So if I go like that, I'll move that more towards the middle. And now if I undo that, let's switch it over to a gray screw and just click there again. And the more times you click it, the darker it's going to get. Yeah, so I like it pressing it twice. And let's just go ahead and do that too. And put 4 screws on there. And now we got 4 screws and we got this cool looking stylized crate. And it may look brown right there, but that's okay. And that's pretty much how you add textures and stencils to it as well. Same way. But now we have a new problem. This image is not saved yet. So what you want to do now is you just want to click this image and then save as. And now you can call it wooden box with screws. And just like that, you should now see that box with screws right here with that upside screw that you added. And that's how you modify the texture in Blender and save it out. And if you take it and pull it to a game engine, all you need is this texture and it should map it to all 4 sides. So if we switch back into object mode, and that looks pretty cool. Congratulations, guys. That is pretty much it for a basic textured object in a simple way. So what if you change your mind? You're like, oh crap, I don't really like this texture and I want to put my own design. Well, you can do that. So what we want to do is, first off, the reason why this was brown is because of this, just to let you know. So let's go ahead and just cut this out. And now we have a regular cube. But this time, we don't want this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Shift A. And I'm going to search for image texture. And I'm going to create a new one. Call this custom wood. And you can set the size here. If you're using the game, make sure you use the power of 2. I'm going to leave the defaults for this. I'm going to click OK. And here we are with that. Now that we have a new texture, over here we want to switch to the new texture, custom wood. You should end up with a black square. And now we're going to use the power of AI. If you go to your web browser and you search for poly.cam, I know that sounds a little weird, but trust me, it's going to take you to this photogrammetry tool. And what you want to do is click on generate. And then in here, you're just going to type in wood. And it's going to generate 4 textures. And after that happens, just select the one you're at right here. Make sure there's a green box and just click download. I've already done this a couple times, so I'm just going to delete that. And then I'm going to jump back into Blender. Make sure it's going to come in a zip file, so just make sure you unzip that onto your desktop. So for me, mine would be right here. And what we want is the albedo. So to actually paint on here with a custom texture, you can either use the brush, and if you're really good at painting 2D, you can just kind of draw on it directly. For me, I'm not. That's not really my specialty. So I'm gonna use another workaround, which is right here. If I click on New Texture, and if I go to Open, and I browse to where that texture was, I want the albedo, and it's gonna bring up that wood texture that I wanted. And if I reset the transform on this, I'll now have a stencil that I can use. And put it wherever I want. So one thing we didn't do yet is if I want to add a different design on all 4 sides, I actually need to switch back to object mode. And in the edit mode this time, instead of having the squares all like this, I need to unwrap. So I'm just going to use Smart UV Project. Click OK. And it's going to generate this. You can just create a new cube. I just did this to save time. And that way I have all the squares. I could also selected all the squares that were there originally, and I could have just done UV and then pack islands, and that would have done the same thing as well. So now we're ready to go back in and paint these however we want. So if I switch back from edit mode to texture paint, now when I color on one side, it will appear on one of the squares. Make sure you're right here, we're drawing on the new texture, okay? Because this is the old one right here. And just go ahead and start drawing your design. And we don't see anything yet because we didn't switch this. So if I go from base color, so if I go into materials, base color, and I switch this, the image texture, and now for the image, we switch that to the custom wood. There we go, problem solved. So now we have that on that one side. I want that just a bit brighter. Just like that. Yeah, There we go. And if I press F, I can actually make that bigger. And there we go. Ta-da! And it's only on the one side. So I'm just going to show you with different colors that this is going to be different on each one. So the top view, we'll make that one green just for kicks. Switch over to the other side, we'll make that one blue. You can always switch off the stencils if you want and just draw. You're really good at painting. If you like this one, I don't know, yellow-ish. More. This one, we'll just make that one blue again. Ta-da! You can do that like that as well. So for me, I want to that and that. And now I am going to do it. Just like that. That looks pretty good. Obviously, that's really dark. And yours would probably be pretty light. Yeah. Yeah, let's just make that a little better. But I think you guys get the idea. Pretty much. This stuff can actually be pretty fun once you get the hang of it, especially if you start developing a knack for hand painting textures, which are really, really popular, I've noticed. I think I already did that one. But there's multiple ways that you can do stuff. You don't have to limit yourself to just one way. You just gotta kind of do what is comfortable to you. And so don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. Because there's more than one way to do things. I think our box is looking pretty cool. Multicolored box. How about that? The reason why it's darker in some areas is because we are in the default layout, and if you're using the texture pane, the shader editor, it should be brighter. But this is just so you can see what I'm clicking. And there we go. 4 different sides. So we have this right here. You have to do is save that image again. Custom wood's fine, just save. So alternatively, what you want to do is if you want to bake this out, you can grab this, switch over to object mode, and click on the box. And I'll show you actually. Yeah, that's already connected. So as long as this one's connected right there, what we can do is right here, create, let's click off of this. Let's go right here, baked, wood, diffuse, okay. And then click OK. And then with that connected, if we click over here and go to that one that's blank, you can switch from Eevee to cycles and go down to bake and switch from combined to diffuse. And then just untick the direct and indirect. We only want the color because otherwise it's going to be based around the light in here and it's going to be dark on one side and we don't want that. We want it all around. So now that that's good, if we hit bake, it'll start baking the texture to that new texture. And look at that. There we go. Our texture is back. How cool is that? Congratulations. You just did your first bake as well. You learned how to texture paint and make an awesome looking crate. Go ahead and add some screws to it, add some designs to it, and then share it with me on my Discord. I'd really like to check out what kind of crate you made. And I'll see you guys next time. I hope this helped.